Okay, so we are actually, it looks like we're a few minutes early, or not a few minutes, a few seconds early, so we're just gonna wait just a minute before we start. Um, okay, actually, we're like 10 seconds early, so we can go ahead and start now. So, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in to the Warrior Moms podcast. My name is Trina Rothman, and I'm here with today's guest, Aydee Deaton, and she is going to discuss her son, Nathan. We refer to him as the Mighty Nathan, and he's actually in that photo right behind her. So before we get started, though, I wanted to say a couple of different things about what has happened since we first launched the episode last week. So Aydee and I have been looking at the views, and they have just been going up and up, and we are so thankful that so many people chose to join and watch us, not necessarily live, but through the replay, and we are very, very, very what's the word? We're just shocked, really. I think that's the best word, is shocked. We knew there was a need for this, and we just didn't realize how quick the response would be. So I've spent the last week talking to different warrior moms, talking to different experts, and I am excited to announce that we've actually booked warrior moms guests all the way through August.
That's awesome.
I think so too. And so we've got coming on, we've got a dyslexia expert. We've got, she's also coming on with her daughter to discuss, what it was like to have a special, a need as a child that wasn't being met, and her mom fought for her. And I'm very excited to bring her on. We have another mom whose daughter developed epilepsy right around puberty age. And then what else? What else did I tell you? Because now I'm drawing a blank. We have another mom whose child has cerebral palsy. I'm trying to get some other experts. I have an attorney coming on that will discuss the importance of estate planning, having your will done. That is a big thing for me as somebody who, I used to do estate planning, and so I'm not an attorney, but I worked for one. And that was the bulk of our practice, was establishing special needs trusts and things like that. So it's really important.
Because having that in the back of your mind when it's not done, and you're like, oh my, the what ifs, and it's just, it is something that just plays daily even. And I think for us, it was so important to get it done so we can just stop thinking about it.
Absolutely.
And yes, and the idea of, whatever passing and all that sucks, but I don't have to live in that space because it's done, it's taken care of, it's, it's done. And so I can just.
Yes, and it's good to update the documents too. Oh. So because laws change, and they change every few years with the estates code. So it's really
luckily
important.
When you're hooked up with a good attorney, they're the ones who follow up. And
absolutely, I used to be that person. That used to be me. So it's so important, and she's actually going to talk about transitioning as well when you're 18. So if you have a child that will not be able to be legally independent as an 18-year-old, you become an adult. And so if you have a child that will not be able to do
medical decisions,
so she'll talk about that. So we've got a lot of great things in the pipeline for you guys. We also created the Warrior Moms community. So we will post a link to that when we're done with the video today.
And I think that's a real, having a community like that is so important, because I feel like there's always a level of loneliness, I think. And I think it's for a lot of parents who have, it might not be as easy to get out, whatever, when you have super medically fragile kids. So I think having that online community is really important. It is nice to be able to get together and have coffee, or whatever. Those things are nice every now and then, because we need this human interaction. But just having that little safe online space is important.
I think so too, and that's why we have to connect. Yeah, and like we were talking last week, it's just a good place to be a sounding board, to get other opinions, because maybe the moms that in your community and your close, your group of friends, maybe they don't know the answer, but you have that community and you can go on there and you can ask them what's going on. So I think that's what's really important, to have that community, and that's why we created it for you guys. So all of that being said, I'm just very thankful for the overwhelming response. One of the best things that happened actually was right after the podcast. My daughter, actually prior to the podcast, my daughter was really upset because I wasn't allowing her in the room with us. And so she was off crying, and her dad had to talk her down and explain to her, hey, Scarlett, this is something that mommy's actually doing for you. This is something to help make the world a better place. And she reluctantly agreed to be quiet for the next hour so she can sit down in the living room. But she had her.
She watched it live.
She did. She watched it live from I think my tablet. And then as soon as we hit stop recording, she barreled through the door and she just like knocked me over with this hug.
Big old bear hug.
And it was probably like, it's just one of those moments like as a mom that like, it's just like, oh my God, I did it
and
right.
I know, and I feel like I saw that in your face too. You're just like your face was so like, just like, oh my gosh. Because she did, she watched it and she was so proud of you.
Yes. And so that to me, I mean, meeting all the other moms, all of that has been great, but that had the impact on my daughter. That was probably the most amazing thing. So all of that being said, we're going to move into the show. We're going to hear Aydee's story, her warrior mom story. And I think we'll just start with, just tell me about who you are and your warrior mom story.
Who am I?
Yeah.
There's so many layers. No, I'm kidding. I'm Aydee. I'm a mom. I've been married to like my childhood friend. We've been together almost 20 years, wow, which is insane. We were just talking about that the other day. It's weird. We've been married 15. This next month will be 15 years.
Wow! Congratulations.
That's insane. Okay. Anyway, he's a Marine. And we're just regular people, and he got out of the Marines in like 06 or something, and he came home, and we're just being a single married couple, decided we want to have babies. And so we did the whole, because I'm a major coffee addict, so we did the whole, I quit coffee like 3 months or something, like months before we decided we wanted to try. I mean, I was just trying to do everything the right way
and optimal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so whatever, we get pregnant with Nathan, everything's cool. About 26 weeks in, I started having like weird like symptoms, which I associated them to other things. Turns out I ended up, the symptoms were that symptoms of preeclampsia.
Okay.
And I had the book, but I just skipped through like that chapter, like all the sickness chapter. I was like, I don't need this. I'm healthy. I'm healthy.
And you're young.
I'm young. Yeah. So, whatever. I went in for regular glucose tolerance screening. I can't say the person who draws your blood,
phlebotomist.
A phlebotomist. This is something.
We're great with the words.
Yeah. So the doctor comes in. She's like, "Oh, I've done this before. I can do it for you." And I was like, "Oh my God!" So anyway, so she comes. She draws my blood, and she's like, "Are you okay? You look a little flushed." And I was like, "Well, I'm late to work now. You're stressing me out." She's like, "Let me check your blood pressure." She leaves the room, comes back. She checks it. She's like, "That can't be right." She went to go get another monitor, came back. She said, "Go pee in this cup." I mean, it was, I had the urine in the protein in my urine at that point was like +4 or something. I mean, it was like right below like kidney failure.
Oh, wow.
My blood pressure was like up in like the 200s. I mean, I was practically dead, I guess. And so she said, "You're going to have to drive." And this is kind of where it leads up to where I'm going to, I guess, get to. She said, "You're going to have to drive down 59 because we're not equipped to deliver a 20, at that point, I guess it was 26 week. We're not equipped to deliver a 26-week baby."
So it went from like you just doing a glucose test to like now you're having a baby.
Yes.
There was no in between.
There was no in between.
Okay, go on.
And so I drive, and at this point, none of this is safe. But again, when you don't know any better. So I'm driving down 59, calling my husband and crying and, whatever. And I get to the hospital and they take me straight in, whatever. So the goal at that point was to keep my blood pressure low, whatever. It didn't work. Their goal was to keep me there for 6 weeks. I lasted 3 days.
Oh, wow.
After 3 days, I ended up seizing. And that's when they had to do an emergency C-section to deliver Nathan. So when he was born, he was a micro preemie, 1 pound 9 ounces, just like a little sack of bones. He was teeny tiny, but he didn't develop his brain injury till like maybe like 2 weeks in the NICU. He started developing blood clots. So he had an ischemic event. He had a stroke,
Okay.
and that's what caused his brain injury. But we didn't they didn't realize that that's what had happened at that point until we were at discharge. At discharge, they do a discharge MRI. And then that's when they found. So, but we also knew he had at birth. They found out that he was born with a congenital heart defect. So I mean, there was just like all kinds of. So the whole time in the NICU, it's like 3 months in the NICU. It was just like a whirlwind of feelings and emotions and all that stuff. And so we came home, and it was just. I remember when we got discharged, the neurologist there. We don't see him anymore. He said he was giving us Nathan's diagnosis and his prognosis, and he said, well, I mean, just don't have very many expectations for him.
That's a terrible thing to say to anybody.
And don't have very many expectations of him, and just take him home and love him. It was like probably the saddest thing. And this is because by that point, I had been sat down and told that he was going to die. Because I mean, he was very, very sick, like with his heart and all kinds of other stuff. So I had already been told sat down to brace myself, and that he might die. And then, but that wasn't even as worse. I mean, what this guy told me was worse than that.
Because that guy crushed your hopes.
I mean, it was just a horrible thing to sit. And then I remember we were sitting there, and my husband and I were just like, okay, can we go now? Because this isn't fun anymore. So I mean, and so we apparently, obviously we don't see that guy anymore, but we did. Well, we just came home, and we were like in, I guess, fix it mode, I guess you could say, like trying to find all the right therapies, all the right thing, like all the things to do, and whatever. And then it was just a focus on Nathan. And here we are 11 years later. We've come a long way from the discharge, parents that we were then, and to the parents we are now. We've, I think, grown and evolved, and we're completely different people, I guess you could say. And it's been an interesting ride.
Okay, so elaborate on that. So between parents that brought Nathan home to parents, or to you sitting here right now as this version of the parent that you are, what kind of transition was that?
It was huge. It was really finding your voice, because in the beginning we just went with. We're still go with the flow. We do, but it was, well, he needs this, and we need, all the things that like the medical professionals and everything tell you that, and it was like, okay, and we never really asked questions. We didn't understand why. We just did, and I think we were just scared, Yeah. So we found our voice. We're better, advocates for him. We ask questions. I feel like we know him better, I think, than any medical professional. And now when they give me a treatment plan for anything, I'm like, well, no, that doesn't really work for Nathan. And I feel like this would be best. And it's more of a team approach. And we've all found our voice. Nathan has his voice, you know what I mean? And we've just grown and evolved and helping advocate for him.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna reach to my notebook. So Scarlett felt that I needed. I'm gonna make sure that I acknowledge this because it's so funny. Scarlett felt that since this is it's more of like an interview type show, that I needed to have an interview notebook. So I have one now because I'm supposed to. So I'm gonna reflect my notes like a good reporter. So outside of just being Nathan's mom, why don't you tell me about who you are? Like what do you do for like self-care? What do you do in your free time, things that you enjoy that make you you, so that way you can be fulfilled to take care of your son?
Okay, so I think for the longest time, if you would have asked me that, I would have given you a blank stare and said, what do you mean? I'm Nathan's mom. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's all I'm supposed to do is be Nathan's mom. Because I literally turned into like a mom robot, and it was just therapies. And there's nothing, and I'm just, and if this is you out there, I'm sorry. That's not anything bad. It wasn't working for me.
Right.
I was just Nathan, 24/7. Husband who, friends who, like, there was no time for anything. It was just Nathan, and he needed therapy. If it wasn't therapeutic, we weren't doing it. Like, I mean, it was just, I was a monster. Like, I mean, I feel like I was very
You were a
unpleasant.
mom bot.
I was, and I feel like I feel like I might have been a little unpleasant to be around.
I get that because I've been that person before too.
And so I think if you would have asked me that, then I would have been like, what do you mean? There is no time for fun. There is no time for me. There is no, and did take me a while to, well, it took I think my marriage, starting to crumble and us going to therapy. And then for me to realize, like, okay, whoa, I need to pump the brakes. Like, I do need to pay attention to my husband. I do need to pay attention to my friends. I do need to pay attention to, like, myself. I need to have a life outside of Nathan and just being in Nathan's world. And so it is still Nathan's world.
I mean, the show's called The Mighty Nathan.
Yeah,
this episode is called Mighty Nathan.
It is still Nathan's world, but I think all of us participants in Nathan's world are so much happier people because we take time for ourselves. So anyway, so I do take time for myself. And what do I like to do for fun? I love being in the kitchen. I love cooking anything, baking anything. I love being with my friends, going out for coffee.
All things I like to do as well.
Yes,
So
I love to eat, and I
like to eat her
coffee.
food.
I love to feed people. Well, I used to be super passionate about working out. I still work out sometimes. I mean, I'm just not as passionate about it. Because because my passions have changed, and now I'm in the kitchen like a lot. So one of my passions kind of just grew into like a business overnight. And so I run a cookie business with my husband and my son. So we have our family little cookie business.
That's awesome. And I've actually used her cookie business myself. And she does things with cookies that I could never do. I always joke, I'm just like, I'd rather pay her to do it than do it myself because she's talented, and two, it's a lot of work. It really is. So appreciate cookie people because they really do a lot.
But what I think is so cool is that it's literally been like my hobby. Like for 2 years, it started with my niece, and that's what I'm always doing. I'm with my nieces, I'm with Nathan, and we're like in the kitchen, and with my mom, whatever. We're always cooking. We're always in the kitchen. We're always doing stuff. And it started off as a hobby, and then it just kind of like grew, and now we're,
because you have talent. That's why.
Oh, thanks. And so anyway, so it just kind of morphed into that. So that's been fun.
That's awesome. And then so you said it's just one of your passions. What's another passion of yours?
Advocating. And even though it's related to Nathan, but it is something that's just important to me because it's something that's in our life forever.
Yes.
And so that's something that's always that is like really important to me. And so learning about advocacy, and there are advocates, and you could hire professionals, and but I just knew this early on. I knew that this was going to be a forever, with Nathan, advocating at the school, just in life, just advocating for just anything. And so it was super important for me to learn. And so in Texas, we have what's called, hang on, I wrote it down. It's called our PTI. It's a Parent Training and Information Group. And it's federally funded, and that's what they're here for. And it's here and for our region 4, it's team project, and through Partners Resource Network, and we'll share all the information.
Yeah,
and that's where I did all of my like learning and going through their trainings and whatever, and just because it helps you be a better advocate for your kid. So that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
An advocate, like if you have, I guess, in some situations, like you said, Nathan is always going to need advocacy. In some situations, you may only need to advocate for your child just this one time. Like or your child may have like a stutter, and so you're just trying to get your kid into speech therapy. And then once the stutter is eliminated, your kid no longer needs advocacy. but for other children, like my daughter and for your son, we are going to need continued advocacy, and advocates can get very expensive. And it can also, like in some situations, it can even shut down the ARD. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, if they feel like you're being abrasive, the school district feels that you're being abrasive, they might want to reschedule the ARD, and so that they could have somebody there to represent them as well. So advocacy can always go both ways. And so we were discussing this prior to the episode, that we're, it's just leading with kindness. And
that's always been my approach.
Yeah, lead with kindness and just know your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do that, you will have the ability to form relationships with the people who care for your child.
And that's another thing. I mean, your kid's going to be at that school, for however many years. I mean, you've got to build those relationships. They've got to know your expectations. It's so important for me. It's always been important for them to know who Nathan is. And it's so funny. It's not funny. It's actually cool. Nathan's aide was out one day, and he had a substitute with him. And again, because it is important for me that everybody know Nathan, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the AP was in the cafeteria and noticed, and we went to go talk to him and whatever. And she said, "There's something a little off about him today." And she was trying to talk to him, whatever. And the sub didn't know any different. And she was like, "Take him down to the nurse. There's some." And as she was, there was something wrong with him. He had a seizure, and she caught that.
And that's part of her being able to interact with Nathan, and you pushing for that.
Well, so, but I feel like at Nathan's school, it was just so natural. But I mean, if you're in a school where it's not as natural, and you will have to.
Yeah. So that's really good. Do you want to do a shout out to Nathan's aide?
Mr. D, he's the bomb.
That's Mr. D.
That's Nathan's best friend, and he's like our lifesaver. He's part of our village.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. We have some interaction with Mr. D too. When we hang out with you and Mr. D shows up, he's a really great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in addition to all like what we've talked about, what have you had to do as far as like advocate for your child? What have you had to do for Nathan?
Okay. And another group that I love there was another instance where things got, I guess, to like and it wasn't at a school, and it was where I had to involve Disability Rights of Texas, where Nathan was not being included into a camp. And so I did have to contact Disability Rights to have Nathan participate in a camp. And I am the type of person where I won't tell Nathan he can't do something. Like I want Nathan to know and believe that he can do anything. Like that's really important to me. And so when someone sets like a limitation on him because he's in a wheelchair or because, whatever, that's not going to happen, because that's like Nathan does everything. Nathan experiences everything. Those are things that are important to me. Nathan experiences everything. Nathan does everything. And I need everyone to like see that just because he's in a wheelchair, because he's nonverbal, that he has something to say. He always has something to say. And he loves experiencing things. And so he might not say like, "Mom, I want to go to the beach," or "Mom, I want to," like, he might not say all these things to me. But if I ask him, "Nathan, do you want to go to the beach?" He just like lights up because he loves going to the beach. And so that's something that's important to both my husband and I, that we give him those experiences. Like it's our job, it's our responsibility to make sure that he has all these experiences. And so when someone shuts him down and says that he can't do something because he's in a wheelchair, that's like not acceptable for me. So don't tell me my kid can't do something.
There you go. And I'm with you there. Like, Scarlett obviously is much more mobile than Nathan, but there's things that inclusion for me is so important, not just at school, just in general, like birthday parties and slumber parties and things like that. It hurts me to see that my daughter doesn't get included in a lot of different things. And so inclusion is so important. And I want my daughter to have all of these childhood experiences. And I know you want Nathan to have those experiences, because they're still children. They're still children, and they still want to do things, and they still want to have those experiences, and I want them to have those experiences.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because like Nathan had this birthday party when he turned 5, and this mom came to the party, and we were there at the party. We'd been there good like solid 30, 45 minutes, and I didn't know the parent. Like sometimes I guess you don't know all the parents or whatever. So this mom was there, and the little boy was there, and they're having a good time with Nathan and whatever. And the mom, like maybe 45 minutes into the party, comes up to me and she's like, "Hi, like I'm sorry, we're just gonna go ahead and just take the present back. I'm gonna get something that's a little bit more appropriate for him." And I was kind of like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Like, did you get him like a Playboy? Like, oh my God, what did you get my kid?" And so she said, we were at the store shopping for him, and she's like, I asked my son what would he like, and she told me about Nathan and all the kind of things he liked, and whatever, and so we picked out this toy. She's like, "But I didn't realize that he was like in a wheel, like he won't be able to." And I was like, "Well, like what is it?" And she said, "It's a water gun." I was like, "Oh, Nathan loves water. Like Nathan would love that. Nathan, like, yeah, like no, you have to take that back. Nathan would love it." And then it was just funny because her eyes started welling up, and she said, "But what makes me feel so happy is that when I asked my son about Nathan, he never mentioned, like he didn't lead with
he's in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair. He's doesn't talk, or like what I mean, all the things that like the more obvious things about Nathan." And so that, I mean, we both like ended up like crying and like hugging it out there at the party, whatever. Was so like cute, but like I think like the little boy saw Nathan would love a water gun,
Yes.
and the mom saw he can't do. You know what I mean? Like that's not like,
right.
and not there's anything wrong, but we sometimes just lead with like the more obvious things, and that's not always the case.
I love that. I love that kid saw their friend, and that's what it was. They didn't see the disability. They didn't see anything else other than their friend, and they knew their friend was going to love that. And I love that. And I would be so proud if that was my child to say, like, "Oh, my child saw their friend."
Yeah.
And so, going on to, we have people commenting as well. So Angie says that your cookies are gorgeous.
Oh, thanks.
And everyone, Mr. D, another shout out to Mr. D. Lori said that she's never heard of the group that you were mentioning, so that's really great. We will be sure to post all of that stuff into the comment threads after, and then we'll also post it into the Warrior Moms community as well. And then Carly Bradshaw says, "You're such a good mama." And then Lori also backs us up with the inclusion being so important. It hurts to watch them slowly be excluded. It really does. It hurts my mama heart. And then I just want to go and just be like, who's not,
I know,
who's being mean to my kid, who's excluding my kid. And then at the same time, I have to know that like when I was a kid, that maybe I wasn't that way. And just how kids are. And I can't make everybody just love my child as much as I do. And so sometimes it's really hard not to just bump somebody's kid on the head.
Well, and it's funny because I always say everything's funny. Not everything's funny.
It's not.
But what I love is that sometimes there was a little. This was recent too. We were talking about summer activities, and somebody said something about surfing, and Nathan smiled, and then I was like, Nathan's actually been surfing, and it was kind of like a no way. Like you think a kid in a wheelchair is going to go surfing? You best believe a kid in a wheelchair is going to go surfing if I have anything to do with it. There's this awesome organization, and that's what they do. They take kids with special needs, and they also work with wounded warriors, and they take them out surfing. So yeah, Nathan's been surfing. That's awesome. That's my thing. I never want Nathan to feel like he's missed out on something, that whatever. And so that's like my goal, to make sure that Nathan experiences, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And so and I don't ever want him to hear me verbalize that he can't do something. We were jump roping with his little cousins, and everybody knows Nathan gets a turn. And she said, "Oh, well, what about Nathan? It's Nathan's turn." And I was like, "All right, Nathan's jump roping. Let's go. Let's do this. Get me a good loop going." And I held on to Nathan's head like so tight, and don't need like baby shaking syndrome happening here. I did. I held on to him, and we jump roped. It's those are things that are important to me, and he needs to. He loves that. You know what I mean? He loves
Yes.
always being in the mix and in part of stuff.
I think that's great. I
Mhm.
really do. And I always love seeing, because we're friends on Facebook too. We're friends in real life and on the internet. And I love seeing the pictures of Nathan. Didn't he recently, wasn't there a marathon or a 5K or something?
No, he did half marathon.
Yeah. So I just love seeing that.
And these are all like, again, all these organizations, all these cool groups you hear about from other moms.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like the surfing group, one of my girlfriends like shared that information with me. The running group, it's a team of, it's called Ainsley's Angels.
Okay.
And it's a group where they pair runners with kids and adults with special needs. And it's just, and these are, and I heard from that group from another mom friend of mine, you know, so we all just, and it's like a neat community.
Yes.
To see and to have your kids experience all these things like racing. You ask Nathan if he wants to race, he smiles big. You ask him if he wants to win, he smiles even bigger. I mean, he is a kid. Like he is like well, yeah, that's just something that is like, I feel like people sometimes look at Nathan and just are like, oh, like he's a sweet little boy. And I'm like, no, he can be a turd. He can have like an attitude.
His side eye.
Yeah, he will side eye you like you wouldn't believe. He wants to win. Like, you know, yeah, I mean, but he really is like a kid. And he's going through like this, he's 11 now. So he's going through this like tweeny, like he doesn't always want to like listen, like, or like talk with, hang out with me kind of thing. And so I'm like, Nathan, you want your headphones? And he'll smile. And so I plug him in with his headphones and he's like happy. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you're over your mom. Like,
yep. Yeah.
Scarlett's headphones. I mean, he really is like a kid, like any 11-year-old kid.
That's awesome. And rightfully so. Okay, so I thought I saw a new comment. Oh. Okay, so I was like, oh wait, we have another question. So like I think we've covered a lot of the topics here, but something we haven't talked about is, what would you wish people knew about you, and what would you wish people knew about Nathan?
What I wish people, okay, what I want people to know about Nathan, I'll start with him because it's like always pops up first. I want people to not like judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean? I want people to see Nathan, and I think, and I've been saying that I think a lot today because I got to talking with Mr. D, and I said, you know, before Mr. D, I feel like he was just like at the school and like he was just there and
like a daycare, like a
yes,
like a government daycare.
Yeah, and I feel like he wasn't seen. Like he wasn't seen and he wasn't heard. Like I feel like nobody could translate. You know what I mean? Like him. And when Dustin came and started working with them, I feel like Dustin saw him. And that's who like we need in our village. You know what I mean? Like somebody who sees him, and he saw like Nathan's potential. He saw like Nathan's like, you know, like smart assiness. You know what I mean? Like he saw Nathan's like just how smart, you know, just everything like about him. And he like helped him like I think really engage with others like at the school, like with his peers, like, you know, and like I feel like that helps other people like see Nathan too. Anyway, but yeah, so like that's what I need people to understand that Nathan is a kid. Like when we don't I find maybe I baby talk him like because I'm his mom, but like when people like baby talk him or whatever, and I'm like, okay, he's in a wheelchair, he's not like a baby, like, you know, or when people talked about him like he's not there, and I'm like, okay, so I'm like, he's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
he's in the room.
And then like Nathan will start crying because like you've said something. You know what I mean? And it's like, can I talk? So when we met with these lawyers that are disability rights, when we met with them, they were asking me just questions about like Nathan, and then I wanted to say like what I wanted to say, but I didn't want Nathan to hear about like kind of the conflict that had happened and the things that I had been told. And so then I was like, I kind of don't want to say anything right now because like, yeah, he's right here and I don't want to hurt his feelings. And then they said something about him like not going to go participate, and Nathan started like, because he's got his pout down.
He's that bottom
He's
lip.
got it down. And he was like, and I, looked at the attorney and I was like, well, and then he was like, oh, is he crying because I said, I'm like, well, he's got ears, yeah. You said he wasn't going to go. And so it hurts. I was like, and I was trying to calm Nathan. I said, no, if you don't go to that, mommy's got you lined up with all kinds of other camps. You're going to have a fun summer. Like, da, 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 da. I was trying to talk him off the ledge. And like, that's when the attorney saw Nathan and was like, oh, you're going to camp, buddy. Oh, you're going to camp. You know what I mean? Like, and because sometimes people look at him and think that he doesn't understand but he understands he's full on bilingual. The boy understands Spanish. And I think when because my mom speaks Spanish and she's spoken Spanish since birth, and so did my grandma. And so like when people trip out when they're talking in Spanish, and he's like, whatever, and he's smiling, or you tell him he's guapo, which is like handsome. Oh, he's like hamming it up. Like, and then we had this one doctor, I think he like was like quizzing us or something. No, I'm kidding. He said, we were, and then he asked us like, what are Nathan's like, what activities that Nathan likes to do? And I'm like, well, favorite bath time. Like, and I was going through whatever. And then the doctor surprised me and he busted out in Spanish and asked Nathan if he likes to take a bath in Spanish. And Nathan smiled so big. He was like, oh, he doesn't understand. And I was like, I wasn't kidding.
I didn't know that either. Like, I didn't know that he was bilingual.
No, so, like he understands, like, he understands everything.
It's awesome.
He's a smart boy. He really is a smarty pants.
He probably just busted out that bottom lip in front of the attorney. He's like, Mom, I got this. He just does the bottom lip. And he's like, that problem solved. Go to the campfire.
That bottom lip can, like, yeah. You get him anything he wants.
Yeah, I've been around the bottom lip.
You're like, get him what he wants.
Well, I don't care. You want a horse? We'll get one. Like, I know, like bottom lip's gonna. That's the bottom lip that will get you into camps.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, what about you? What do you wish people knew about you?
What I wish people knew about me? No, it's funny because why do I say that a lot?
She's realizing things about herself.
I say it's funny. Okay, it's not funny.
It's not only a show; it's a show for growth. That's what this is.
Okay. Sometimes, or like, I guess what people see of me or know of me is like how we know and see like a lot of people that we don't get to see a lot, which is like social media and stuff.
Yeah. And
so like I think like a lot of times, or even like in groups where people are like, "Oh my gosh, you do all this with your kid." Like he's in, goes to this therapy and that, and he does all these things. Oh my gosh. And then you went home and you baked a cake or you made dinner, like, you know what I mean? And oh my gosh. And you decorated your house, all these things, like, because you might see like little snippets of my life. Right. And people think sometimes, and people think I haven't got my life together. And that to me.
Your ducks are in a row?
Yeah. That to me is laughable. And I'm like, homegirl, it's like, July and I'm like in Christmas underwear. Like, I mean, my life is not together. Like and so whenever people like look at me, I never want people to think that like, I know what I'm doing, because I don't. Like, I mean, I feel like we've gotten to a point in life where we're just, some things are like super important and don't, go unnoticed. But a lot of other things is like, whoa, we messed that one up. Like, we gotta just, we just gotta go with the, keep moving. Okay, just keep swimming and then also I feel like that illusion makes other people feel bad.
Yes.
Or like they need to try harder, or that and I never want anybody to feel bad or like less than, about like themselves, and so that's something that's important to me. I don't want people to look at me and think that I know what I'm doing.
I agree with you. I agree with you because I feel like that I am just winging it like all the time. I'm winging the show, by the way. I was winging it last week, winging it this week.
I'm winging it with you.
Yeah, we wing it together. So it was like, for me, when people are like, oh, well, yeah, Trina, you do all this stuff. You're super mom. Or Trina, you do all that. You're just this amazing person, and I wish I could do stuff like. And I know people mean it as a compliment, but I can't stand it. And it's one of those things. It's just like, no, I don't want you to think that I'm super mom. I want you to know that my life is a mess and I'm just open about it.
Yeah. Or like if somebody says, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when somebody says like, I could never do all that. And I'm like, girlfriend, yes, you can.
You do it because you have to.
Yeah.
And I mean, you literally pick yourself up and you just keep going. You allow yourself a human moment. I can't tell you how many times especially when Scarlett, last fall, when Scarlett was really, like, when we were really experiencing a lot of stuff with Scarlett, I would just go, like, the shower. I would cry in the shower. And then I did, like, okay, you've got 5 minutes in the shower, because any longer than you
get cry face.
Yeah, you get cry face. And then she's going to pick up on it, because that kid will know if like an eyelash fell out. That's how observant. That's how observant she is. Like, she knows. She's just like, wait a second. Like, I could walk in the house and not have my hands showing, and then she'll be like, did you get your nails done? And I'm like, my hands are in my pockets. How do you know I got my nails done? But that's how observant she is. And so, like, I would give myself just a few minutes just to cry in the shower and then get out. And then, I'm just like, all right, I had my moment, and my child needs me. My family needs me. These are things that I have to do because I'm her mom. And anybody, God forbid, they never end up in my situation. But I know that's when you, what is that phrase? Like, when you're going through the hard times, that's when you find out what you're made of. And so, God forbid anybody else ends up in this situation, but I'd like to think that anybody else who ends up in my situation would do the same as me, do the same as you. And you just have to, like, sack up and keep going.
Yeah. And so in that growth, like, there and here, I think, like, in the beginning it was so like, well, like, you're just, and then I remember showing up to our first cardiology appointment, and the cardiologist was like, are you in the medical field? Like, are you a nurse? Are you? And I'm like,
I get asked that a lot.
And I'm like, no, but like, I've been on Google.
Yeah, the internet exists.
And so, like, because I showed up with like a million questions, and like, and anyway, and it's funny how, like, the growth of, like, I think all parents, I mean, obviously when you parent any kid, like, from where you are to here and there. But, like, man, when you have to grow with, like, a special needs kid, I think I don't know, you have to let go of a lot of things, because I feel like for the longest time I wanted to be not perfect, but, just do everything, be perfect, be, I did try, and man, you can't. You can't, and you just will put so much pressure on yourself and so much extra, and then, like, things will start unraveling. Like I said, all these things started, like, unraveling all around me, and I'll just say it. So I wanted these napkins, and I felt like it would just.
I know the story. That's why I'm laughing.
I felt like it would make my life and my party and everything so perfect. And so I rolled into Target, but I had to go to the bathroom. And when you have a kid like Nathan, and I didn't have a wheelchair accessible van at the time, you don't just go into Target. You got to unload a wheelchair. You got to unload and fight the buckles with, like, a kid who's, like, super spastic, like Nathan, and tight. And so as I'm psyching myself up, I'm doing my little, my pee shake, and I'm gonna get these towels that would just make my life perfect and complete. So I'm getting Nathan. But this is just like my life. I swear, like, you just got to be able to laugh through these things. Yeah. You got to just be able to laugh through these things. And that's where I think I am now, where, like, stuff will go down and you just laugh, because you just gotta. So I'm undoing Nathan.
I'm trying to hold it together.
I'm fighting Nathan, and I'm trying to get him out of the car. And it happened. I just peed. I peed my pants in the Target parking lot. I did. I peed my pants in the Target parking lot, and I just stood there. And I was like, well, I'm not getting the napkins. So I start buckling Nathan back up. I was like, yes, we're going home. This trip's over. And I loaded his wheelchair back up. I had all these towels and shirts and things in the backseat of my car. And it was a hoodie, actually, but I grabbed this hoodie and I just put it on my seat, and I just drove home, and like, no big deal. Just peed my pants. So whenever, like, anybody says that, like, I have anything together, like, just know I peed in my pants in the Target parking lot. Like I'm wearing like off-season underwear. Like there's nothing. Like I mean, we're. I feel like both of them. I mean, we're both just so real. You've never probably peed your pants.
I have not peed my pants in a Target parking lot. No, I have not. But you know, I did have a vaginal delivery, so every time I sneeze or cough, I pee myself. So there's that, which happens pretty regularly. Like, just what's it, the mom sneeze where you cross your legs? So no, I don't have my life together, y'all. I'm wearing sweatpants. Like I'm gonna outfit mullets.
Outfit mullets.
Outfit mullets. Like we discussed this. We named it the outfit mullet, and it's just the way it is. Like
you gotta just be able to roll with it, and you gotta be able to laugh. You gotta have a sense of humor. I think anytime, I mean, I don't know if it's not just special needs parenting. It's just anything. You've gotta be able to laugh.
Yeah.
And if you can't laugh, and because I feel like that's always something that we're like when Steven and I are like, you know, kind of where we were, and like, but even like just through our whole life, like I have known him since I was 7. But that's just something about us. We can always laugh. And I feel like that's always like important to us, that we can just like laugh or make each other laugh or just be silly. And that's why I think Nathan is like the way he is. Like he's a goofball. Like there's like, you can't walk into our house and see something normal. You won't walk into our house and see anything normal. My husband came home from basketball one night and Nathan was already asleep, and I was chilling on the couch in my unicorn onesie eating a bowl of cereal, and he just walks in and he's like, it's just normal. It's normal to see like random. I mean, I'm like, you can't feel sad if you're in a unicorn onesie.
That's true.
You can't. And so, I mean, we're just silly like that. And Nathan's silly like that. That's just how we are. We're just funny, silly, crazy people.
I'm pretty much like that too. Scarlett has a unicorn onesie because of your unicorn onesie. That's hard to say. So yeah, they're great, and yeah, you can't feel sad when you're wearing a uni onesie, onesie. I don't know. We'll think of it. We'll think of a name.
We'll find something.
So I think we can open it up to questions and comments. So let's see. Where are we at? Lindsay Garrison, if you have never seen Nathan's huge smile, it's 1,000 watt. Yeah. If you've never seen his smile, it's contagious. Contagious laugh. You are truly missing out. He made my day every time I cross paths with him, and you're an awesome mom.
Oh, you're the sweetest, Miss Lindsay. No, I'm telling you, but Nathan is. You can't be sad when you're around Nathan. No. You can't.
He's got a huge smile.
I mean, he is funny, and like he laughs at the most inappropriate things. I think sometimes too. Like if I let a curse word out or whatever, he is just like, like because he like knows it. Or if I get stuck in a long shh, like and he knows what's coming, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say it, Nathan, and he'll start laughing. Like he's just silly. He really is silly.
Oh, that's awesome. And then Angie says, winging equals winning.
I'm laughing at Carly. You're the perfect mix of awesome and ADHD.
I think she's right. I think she's right there. Lori is laughing at you peeing your pants. And okay, so anybody, if you have any questions for us today, go ahead and ask. Go ahead and ask them now in the comments. Sorry, my nose itches. Oh, sorry.
It's not coronavirus.
It's not. It's just I have allergies because I live in Texas. So Lori asks, back to self-care. I haven't mastered that yet. What are some suggestions?
Just do it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Actually. Because like sometimes there are times where, and during all this Corona crazy that we've been in, I've been like, just trying to get stuff done around the house, and just being at home all the time and 24-hour care with the kid and whatever. Running a business now. And I even like said to my husband, I said, you know what? I'm doing it. I said, tonight that's exactly what I said. I said, tonight, self-care night. And I did. And I paused and I just told him, you're taking the child. And I went and I took a bath. I had my little face mask on, and I did. And I just needed to just go woosah and just have a little moment. And that's what you have to do. You know when you need it. Like, when you need it, when you're lacking. And I was starting to feel like not stress, but that just that kind of tiredy, like I've got something that I've got, and that's when I was like, okay, whoa, pump the brakes, and I just that you just do it. You just if you can't plan it out, I mean, if you can't just like spontaneously say, whoa, I need it now, pause, I'm doing it, plan it.
Yeah. So every day I have, before I go to bed, I take like 15, 20 minutes and I go and I sit outside. I like to look at the stars. So that's something that I like to do. Sometimes I play Scrabble like on my phone because my husband and I have like this running game of Scrabble where I kick his butt. I only play him really because I can beat him. It's an ego boost.
It's an easy win.
You're like, it's an ego boost. I'm sorry, I love him, but like I just know more words. But another thing that goes from knowing words is I also write. Writing is a passion of mine, and so that's something that I take time to do. And also for me, it's incredibly cathartic. Sometimes I publish what I write, sometimes I don't. And then for me, again, as an artist, former photographer, art is really helpful. So something that I do, I have probably, I want to say probably close to like 20 adult coloring books, not like porn, but like just the adult, like what are the
they're adult coloring books.
Yeah, it's just,
but when you say adult,
like Harry Potter.
When you say adult, it makes it sound naughty.
It sounds wrong.
It sounds naughty.
So like I'm drawing like Titanic, and
like rich girls.
So no, I do that. I do a lot of coloring. Scarlett likes to color as well because she has temporal lobe epilepsy. Apparently, like coloring is a thing. Like we're like it's called hypographia. I don't something that she does, and she gets in these like little like jags where she will like color for like days straight. And so we have a lot of art supplies in this house. So sometimes that's just like as simple as just taking a moment to color a page. Or
I was looking for my planner, but I don't have it with me. In my planner, in the back one of my tabs, I have I wrote down like 30-minute activities, like for me, because sometimes when you do have free time, you're like, oh, what should I do? And you don't know like what you almost like forget what brings you joy.
Yeah.
So I have like my little things that whenever I'm doing, I'm like, I love doing this, like scrapbooking. Like I feel like I haven't been able to like really scrapbook, but when I do it, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? I forget like how much I love to do it. So I have all my little things in the back of my planner where it's like these there's like little 30-minute things, like things that I forget sometimes that I like to do, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. And so whenever I'm like, oh my god, like let me go. Oh yeah, I forgot I like to do these things because I get in that mom brain. Like
that's a good idea.
No, and so I have it in there.
I like that. You should take a picture and post it to the moms group. Angie says
that'd be weird. Y'all already know what I like to do now.
Well, I mean. What do you like to do now? It's weird.
I'm kidding.
Angie says that self-care doesn't make you selfish. It makes you better equipped. And she's right, because for the longest time, you said you struggled with it. I struggled with it. Angie's one of my best friends. And you know Angie as well, too. You guys know they go way back independently.
We go way back, all the way to high school.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't in high school. She was.
But they go back independently, and then Angie and I go back. So that we all lead back to Angie. So, but she actually will tell me that I need to take care of myself and that I'm not going to get anywhere if I'm running. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
You can't get anywhere on an empty tank of gas. So,
and it goes like, that's why like, I feel like I know what Steven needs for his self-care. He needs to go out and walk. He will walk like 10 miles. I know.
That's a weird one.
That is. But he plugs in with his podcast. And so like we have our little
podcast.
Yeah, we have our little breaks, and he does his walk, and then I do, you know what I mean? It's like a tag team. You got to be able to tag team. And if you don't have like someone to tag team with, your village. And well, if you have small children or a child with medical, difficulties that can't be left alone. But your village is important. You got to have a village. Because I was, also telling you that how like, sometimes, that one time Mr. D was like, hey, why don't y'all go on a date night? Like, and we were like, what would we do?
Yeah, we're the same. Yeah.
But having a village there to support you and tell you to take care of yourself.
And then I was going to say something and I forgot. Oh, dang it. I forgot.
Happens.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot. My husband's self-care. He goes to the gym. These men are weird.
I don't know how I turned into the person. Like I used to be like a crazy fitness. I used to be a personal trainer. I used to be a personal trainer, and now I feed people. So like
it's just the flip side of the coin.
Yeah,
right?
so like I mean I get the walking, the fitness. I mean I get, because I mean sometimes I do, like that is self-care. I work out every now and then too.
I go to Hot Works. I do that. That's something new though. I joined Hot
And
Works.
sometimes your self-care could be doing something new.
Yeah.
It really could just be like with a girlfriend, we went to go do aerial gymnastics.
That sounds like fun.
And it was so fun.
That sounds like a lot
And
of fun.
sometimes just like trying something new out of your comfort zone.
Have you seen the one where you do like you're hooked up to a bungee cord?
Oh yeah.
I would not, because like I've actually talked about this with Angie. I want to do that so badly, but I know that I would just be that person that like run jumps and then just like swings around and like knocks a bunch of people over.
Well, I was certain. I even warned the instructor and my friend. I was like, look, I'm either gonna like hurt myself, fart. Like, I was like, I'm gonna do something horrible in these silks, okay? I might even die. I don't know, something about that. But like, we didn't die. We didn't fart. I mean, it was. We didn't. But it was so fun. And sometimes it's just that, doing something new or different, or you know, we don't get to do a whole lot. Like hang out with like you know what I mean? Like just hang out with somebody.
Yeah.
And like it's like that day we just sat at my house.
That was a great day.
You missed your trip to Vegas.
Yes, Scarlett had just got out of the hospital. I was supposed to go to Vegas with for the company that I used to be affiliated with, and so I was like all bummed because we had been in the hospital for weeks. We just got home.
No, so we did our own little Vegas.
We did Vegas day,
and we just ate.
We ate a lot. You had so much food that she bought enough food for what, like 35 people? Like there was a lot of food. And then she kind of like guilted me because I didn't eat all the food.
No, I didn't guilt you. I just want everyone to eat and feel full and happy.
I was definitely full and happy. I was for sure full and happy.
But sometimes it's just like you're not even really like, it's not like we did anything like crazy. But I mean, you just need like and sometimes maybe even just a phone call to somebody.
Yep. You know, since COVID hit, something that I've been doing with my friends because I can't see them, you know, Angie and I did a FaceTime, and then my friend Bethany and I did a FaceTime, and you know that it's awkward at first. I mean, this is awkward. What we're doing here is kind of awkward, but it also becomes natural because like last week you were Garth scared, Garth from Wayne's World, and this week not so much, right?
I told you I'm not feeling Garthy.
Yeah. So it at first it is a little. It's a little weird to talk to somebody on FaceTime, but then like you get 5-10 minutes into it and then you're just laughing with your friend again.
Yeah.
So that's another great way for self-care, is to just reconnect with your friends. And so does anybody else have any other questions? I think we really like talked about self-care for a long time.
Yeah, no, because self-care is important.
It's so important.
And it's important to me because I didn't for the longest time. And then I was, you know, whoa, and I was like, okay, I need it.
Yeah. So even this what we're doing here with Warrior Moms, I feel is self-care, because it gives me that need that like I've learned all this stuff, you've learned all this stuff, we have a place to share it, because ultimately advocacy is both a passion of ours. And so making sure that epilepsy awareness is out there so that way our children feel safe, or know that they are safe when they go out in public, and then that the public knows about special needs people, because I feel like, again, it's like an exposure thing, that they're like not necessarily exposed to special needs children, and so sometimes they have
and for me with it, okay, so we get the stares a lot of times, right? And so sometimes we get the stares, and then I always try to like, oh hi, like what's your name, or I always try to find something in common, like if the kid's wearing like whatever.
Texans gear.
Yeah, Texans gear. Oh, look, Nathan, he likes the Texans just like you. And I always try to show them how Nathan is just like them. Yeah. Or when I get the what's wrong with him, but and I'm like, oh no, nothing. This is just how God made him. Or why don't his legs work? Or why does he sit in there? And I always just say, oh, this is just how God made him. You know, God makes everybody different. And so that's always my kind of with like the littles. It's like, well, and I always, you know, say like, wouldn't it be so boring if everybody was the same?
Mhm.
And so God makes everybody different. And so like I always feel weird talking to other people about that because I don't know like what their
Right.
judges, but it's always my explanation because it is my explanation. And so then when you say something and I, the things that bother me is like when you get the kids that stare and it's like the mom's like shh, like don't look, like don't look, like shh, like whether
Yeah.
and it's like just say hi, like you know what I mean, like it's cool, like it's always cool for with me, like for people to come say hi to Nathan or to like, oh hey, like or I mean even if they ask like, oh like because I need people to know that he's not like weird or like not just him but like most people.
I totally understand. My brother actually, this is kind of like a tangent. My brother's an amputee, and he had his left, I think it's his left leg. I don't even know. Like it's one of his legs is missing. So it's so funny because like he like and I hope he doesn't get mad at me for talking about this, but I know that sometimes the stairs bother him. And and because my brother is the age that he is, a lot of people are like, the question is, did he lose his leg in Iraq or Afghanistan or things like that? And people come up and thank him for service and all that stuff, and it's not necessarily the case for my brother. And then, but it's so funny because like my friend came by the house a couple weeks ago, and her son he's kindergarten, first grade, and he saw my brother's leg, and he was like, "Whoa, like that is cool! Like, how do I get one of those?" He's like asking my brother. He's like, "What can you do with it?
What does it do? Is it like an Iron Man attachment?"
Yeah. And my brother, and for my brother, to have a little one come up to you, of course they're not going to say anything, but like I think he would almost rather people come up to him and just be like, ask rather than stare. And so I from hearing it from him, I get what you're saying too.
Yeah.
Because the stares bother him because you just don't necessarily like know what they're thinking or.
Well, I think a lot of times with the littles, or I mean, it's just a lot of times curiosity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why I always think it's okay to have those conversations and to let your kids come and ask.
Yeah.
Or say hi, or you know what I mean? I think that's okay.
I think so too. And then they'll learn, and then they'll see there's no difference other than the wheelchair. And then they have a new friend, Nathan.
Yeah. Always. Nathan loves having friends.
So yeah, well, yeah, who doesn't?
I know.
I mean, that's weird. It's weird if you don't love having friends, right? So I think that's it's 9:00. So I think that's our show for today. But you're doing peace, not one more piece. Okay, so that's our show for today. I want to thank you guys so much for joining in for our second episode. Hopefully Aydee will be back in the future. And next week we have another guest who her name is Lori, and she's going to discuss her daughter's her warrior story with her daughter.
You've got a good lineup. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and it's really great because then the guests do most of the talking, and I just sit here, so that works for me. So I hope to see you guys next week. We stream live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., which is Central Standard Time because we are in Texas, and then we will upload our videos to what is that other YouTube. So we will upload videos to YouTube, and join us in the Warrior Moms community. Everything we discussed tonight as far as links and the resources, we will go ahead and start posting into both the comment threads on here as well as the Warrior Moms community. So make sure you join. You guys have a great night, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.